What is up, down, and sideways, all you beautiful people? It is League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, as always, as the door is about to be broken down for free agency. I'm sure by the time we're doing the next show, there's going to be a whole lot more news that's broken. But for now, we got plenty of, they're not even really rumors anymore. We're talking verbal commitments, basically, which is about as good as a done deal.
I'm just picturing every LCS and LEC owner holding the door, pushing against it, trying to not budge. But here comes Jacob Wolf's coming through, my man. There ain't no holding back that door. He's got the rumors to bust through. He's got a vengeance. We're going to be going through. Thankfully, they're doing some of that hard work. We get to do some of that fun work, which is talking about what's happening in these moves.
And evil Jacob Wolf is fully realized with him partnering with Evil Geniuses. So we've come full circle for his free agency show later on the Monday. But we're talking Fnatic, Nisqy, because that's the juiciest rumor. And again, it sounds like it's verbally agreed upon. Perks, we already know, probably going over to Cloud9. So where's Nisqy going? Back to EU, over to Fnatic. And before people start speculating everything with this G2 Reckless stuff we've been talking about, apparently, according to eSports Manicos and people within there, is Reckless who recommended or wanted Nisqy on this squad. So I can't see Reckless leaving and saying, I want Nisqy. All right, see you guys. Enjoy Nisqy.
I don't see that being the situation. On top of the many things that we don't see happening as far as Reckless leaving the Fnatic organization, this move, bringing in Nisqy over to this squad, obviously to replace Nemesis, a lot of people are calling it, a side grade or barely an upgrade. And I think that there's actually a lot of disservice done to what Nisqy has put on the table and actually performed in the last 2 years, despite being in the LCS, as some people want to put that asterisk. Absolutely has shown me enough individually that this type of move, there should be a lot more excitement than I'm seeing from Fnatic fans about bringing Nisqy over and what he can do for the team. And especially for me, one of the best things that you had from Nisqy the last 2 years is how he partnered with his jungler, how he played alongside Blabber. And if you think about Fnatic and you think about how they want to have success, having Selfmade be a big part, playing well, that's right there. And having Nisqy there alongside and having someone that is, as we always talked about with Blabber going in to make a play, Nisqy's right there to back him up. That type of thing, that happening with Selfmade, I like the idea of seeing that happen in the LEC.
And I think the overall playstyle, which you touched on a little, for Nisqy is actually going to suit Fnatic really well. You saw when they were playing at their best at this previous World Championship, it was being aggressive and everybody actually following up on Hylissang's insane engages, even Reckless, flashing over walls. Well, Nisqy was absolutely doing that with Blabber, and you look at, he is not a resource-hungry mid laner, whereas, most star mid laners absolutely are. They want CS in the side lanes. They want to be fed the kills. Nisqy had the lowest gold share and CS numbers among all mid laners the last two splits. Even when Cloud9 was dominating, he is very much a mid laner that's going to play for his side lanes. So I think what this is really going to do is give more opportunities for Bwipo. We might be seeing less Ornn duty for Bwipo and some more carries in the top side.
One of the things that a lot of people are claiming when they're negative about this type of move or Nisqy in general are talking about his experiences with Splice in the past and how he never really was able to deliver what we were talking about when he was back in North America the first time playing on Team Envy and talking about how, oh man, this is one of the very few bright spots for that team and what they've shown, and having him go over to the LEC was at the time, okay, let's see how you stack up against the rest of the mids there. And you know what? It wasn't the answer that you were looking for. He didn't reach that top tier of the mid laners that you had. Comes over to North America with Cloud9, and I think he's made a lot of progress, a lot of growth. And I think to just dismiss it as being, that's LCS, whatever, who cares? I think it's being very short-sighted into what he actually can offer.
And not only just LCS, but because Cloud9 was so dominant, at times people said, wow, any mid laner could be popping off on that Cloud9 roster. But with that stacked team, we were talking about him right there with Blabber for MVP in spring. It wasn't, okay, Sven had the insane KDA for the first few weeks, but then it was very much about Blabber and Nisqy, and a lot of people were debating whether you would say Nisqy or Blabber was MVP. Blabber obviously ended up getting it, but Nisqy was absolutely pivotal for Cloud9 in their dominant run in spring. Sure, he fell off a bit towards summer, but the entire squad did. So yeah, it's not Caps, it's not Perks, guys. And I think that's the main reason why people are disappointed in this move.
Well, look, if that was your standard that you were setting, there's a 99% chance that you were going to be disappointed at the end of it. Look, this should be easily seen as a pretty darn tasty consolation prize for Fnatic fans to have Nisqy join the squad. And when you're thinking about what Nisqy can bring to this Fnatic roster and how they should be able to play, you put that up against what is in there for the rest of the LEC region. They're right at the very top competing, and that's exactly what you would have wanted to do if you were trying to make an extra move like this Nisqy transaction.
I just feel like he's going to be much more willing to fight more often than Nemesis, who at times, let's face it, was a lot more passive of a mid laner. Nisqy's not going to dominate lane in a 1v1, but he's going to run around, do the 2v2s with Selfmade, and just be constantly fighting around the map. And that's now, you combine that with Bwipo, Hylissang, and Selfmade, who already all play like that. Even Rekkles is playing more aggressive, and even if he's not, I think you need one voice of reason on the squad, and Rekkles will always be that on Fnatic. And by the way, Bwipo, 99% chance he's staying according to multiple sources, and Jacob Wolf saying Hylissang has already got a 1-year deal that he's going to be back with Fnatic. So if all they're changing is Nisqy in for Nemesis, you should be excited for Fnatic in 2021.
You know, how highly you want to grade this one, sure, you can have that type of debate, but to me, this is instantly a thumbs up type of move for Fnatic and what they're doing. And as you said, with Bwipo, Selfmade, those are the two players that you're identifying where, you know, Nisqy is going to help out his difference to Nemesis. And one of the big ones as well for me is, as you said, re-signing Hylissang. That's a big one as far as how much Hylissang roams around, does end up playing around that mid lane at times. And having, you know, someone like Nisqy there combined with Hylissang, and as much as we talk about how Nisqy's willing to work, willing to have that chemistry and, you know, follow up on someone else making that initial engage, I think Nisqy is going to be a better option than Nemesis ever really was for Fnatic.
And Nemesis, let's not forget, was very vocal on Fnatic when it came to comms within games. Nisqy can fill that void. He did that on Cloud9 as well. You heard it countless times. He was always screaming, sometimes too much screaming, in the comms for Cloud9. But I think he's going to fit well in what this roster wants to do. And I mean, like I said, he's not going to dominate the lane, but that's just the play style that we're going to see Fnatic play, where he's going to be roaming a lot more. And Rekkles and Hylissang, remember how good they were at Worlds? They were one of the best bot lanes at the entire tournament. So I think Nisqy will be more than happy as the new guy on the team to be helping bot and top side.
Yeah, look, if you're talking about overall rankings, ratings, type of things in a video game world that you would be giving Fnatic, hey man, with Nemesis there, you're giving them just, hey, look, top power team, one of the top power teams in the LEC, you give them a 90. What does this Nisqy transaction do? It just raises it up to like a 91 or a 92. So it's only that slight bit extra that you think that, you know what, you can squeeze a little bit more performance out with Nisqy. But that's not meant to be any type of disservice to Nemesis on the way out at this point, because again, a lot of people are forgetting and needs to be reminded that outside of Caps, what other option would you have really picked the last couple of years? And, you know, other than maybe one or two other names you could throw in, Nemesis has to be there. And so right now, the replacement, as we talk about, is Nemesis with Fnatic. Fnatic was still going to be a strong team heading towards next year. But now with the addition of Nisqy in there, it's a different look, unlocks different things as well for the team, and hopefully excels other people's performance. That's the big X factor for me.
And I think, you know, some people wanted Leader as someone to kind of groom on Fnatic, but the roster's built. They want to win right now. With 4/5 of them returning, I think Leader is a guy that should absolutely get a spot in the LCS. Will take some time to develop. But Nisqy, I mean, sure, he's not necessarily proven internationally, but you already saw what he did on Cloud9. Fnatic all about winning right now, while they still have the core group that made a deep run at Worlds last year. We've also got some LCS news. And the LCS is always fun because every year, every team completely changes, although this year it looks like one team is basically just changing their colors, because it sounds like 100 Thieves is just fleecing Golden Guardians and taking all the good parts from the roster, looking like verbal agreements that Closer and FBI, their contracts will be bought out over to 100 Thieves, which was the two highlights of Golden Guardians.
Look, there's got to be some major questions from the community about what is going on with Golden Guardians and their decision making, because even if there's so many different ways that you could actually justify, make an excuse for these type of transactions. But at face value, to lose someone like Closer, to lose FBI, what are you doing? These are the young talents that you want to be building against. You look at the rest of the LCS. You talk about having Closer as your jungler, FBI as your ADC. Well, boom, baby, throw together a couple things. You got a full-on soup ready to go for the LCS, man.
They were both top 3 in their role, maybe even top 2 throughout the summer split.
Yeah, and they're young talents as well. This is what you want when you're talking about building a roster around that. And just to give them for free over to Papa and 100 Thieves, they're feeling fantastic about that, because not only you add that young talent to them, hey, we've already got Someday on the roster. Feeling pretty darn happy about it.
That's a fun top side of the map, seeing Closer and Someday. That's how you use up your import slots, guys. Those are worthy import slots to be using. For Golden Guardians, I mean, the only reason I can think they would do this is they're short on money, but it's not even like you needed to shell out and get a new contract for these guys. They were already signed through this year. So are you that cheap or that tight on money that you can't even come through with the contract that you agreed on? You just say, sell it off. We'll get some rookies.
And that's where my question then becomes, okay, so what is Golden Guardians trying to build? Because you still have a Blaze Olive on the roster. What are you trying to build around? What type of identity are you trying to have?
Not Hanser. He's a free agent too now.
Yep, Hanser's going to be out the door. And the way it looks is, the only option for me that it sounds like is they're going to, as you said, either completely out of money or realizing, you know what, everything with COVID and how it is, can't be spending this type of money on esports. Whatever, that's a different type of decision, and that's a personal one. But if you're talking about, hey, we want to just be going for young talent, well, what are you doing? You had young talent here with Closer and FBI. So there's a lot of questions, and to me, none of them really come together with good or positive answers for the scene or for even the Golden Guardians organization. On the 100 Thieves side, you hit a home run.
Thumbs up.
You're literally making out like 100 Thieves, 100% Thieves on this one, getting out with Closer and FBI. Great young talent to add to the organization. This is the type of stuff that people imagine when you had Papa Smithy moving over to 100 Thieves.
And for the rest of that roster, obviously already Someday we mentioned, it sounds like Huhi's actually going to be coming over too. So it's 3/5 of the starters for Golden Guardians. Huhi and FBI stick together. Huhi gets a return to 100 Thieves. Hopefully a lot better than last time when he was a mid laner.
I know we were high on it, predicting it last time, trying to hope for the best. This one, a different type of move, very different expectations. I think that Huhi can hit the mark alongside FBI.
Yeah, and they've already got that built-in inherent synergy from their time on the Guardians, so that's good. Which leaves the mid lane for them. Ryoma, now technically wouldn't take up an import slot anymore, but it sounds like the name that's linked to them is Cloud9's Palafox. I know people wanted to see him get some LCS attention. He's not going to get it if Perks is on the roster, so I hope that he does get a starting spot, and that perfectly fits in with what Papa Smithy wants to do in getting that young talent some time to develop. And if he ends up being the mid laner, I really like that 100 Thieves roster.
Hey, I'm all for it. Getting that talent, as you've talked about, Palafox is someone that you have seen in the North American scene that has been recognized as, look, absolutely, if we're talking about developing North American talent, he's right at the very forefront of someone that deserves an increased opportunity at the LCS level. 100 Thieves, it's fantastic. And as you said, even better when you're talking about having Someday, the veteran status up there in the top lane, then you get Closer, Palafox, then you roll down to FBI, and you've got your young guns, your talent that you want to be building across, and you sandwich it all off with veteran Huhi at the bottom there at the side. So that would be a nice mixture of groups and backgrounds for that roster.
And let's just say, there was a clip the other day of Nadeshot talking about the LCS and how people want teams to simultaneously develop talent and also win right now, which that's not how it works. You got to pick one or the other. You're either going all in or developing talent. And credit to 100 Thieves, because outside of the big boys in Cloud9, Team Liquid, and TSM, CLG is not part of the big boys anymore, guys. Sorry. 100 Thieves, especially of the newest franchises, have clearly been the most willing to spend money and the most willing to develop talent, which being able to do both of them as a relatively new org, it's very impressive.
People have memed on 100 Thieves a little bit, aside, from their merch drop type of hype based lifestyle identity that they're going for. The way that they handled the whole Cody Sun situation the first time around with Worlds and their first trip and everything of that nature. But overall, when you really do look at 100 Thieves and their commitment to the League of Legends space, and as well as let alone the team and everything else around it, it backs up with what you're saying, that Nadeshot and this 100 Thieves organization have really been one of the ideal new partners that you can talk about for franchising with the LCS. And hey, we just were talking about what is going on with the Golden Guardians. You're making all these type of steps, and then to back away, and for whatever type of reason, it doesn't seem like it's going to be positive. On the complete other hand, you got 100 Thieves and what Nadeshot have been able to do. So yeah, I think that it's a good time to tip our caps to what 100 Thieves brings to the LCS.
And I'm really excited to see what Papa Smithy can do with this roster. Obviously, he's not actually, head coach. He is GM, but putting it together, it's much more talented, I think, than what we saw in last year's 100 Thieves. So excited to see them. Absolutely should be a threat when playoffs do roll around. Last year's playoffs, the biggest threat turned out to be Team Solo Mid. Can't believe it. They did the miracle run of the gauntlet, and then that was their last tournament of the year. Nothing happened after that. They just wrapped up LCS summer.
It's 2021. Everything's all happy. Yeah. NA at Worlds. Whoa. Yeah. What a time, right?
Bjergsen's back is in the mid lane. He nothing changed there.
You had me until the Bjergsen. Oh, no.
It's all the same for them, but obviously there's going to be some changes for 2021. We know Power of Evil most likely coming in to replace Bjergsen. The rest of the role, Spica absolutely will and should be back. If you watched any of their last TSM Legends, heartbreaking seeing Spica make all these calls and everyone else just sitting there silently, not saying anything. Poor Spica. So he should come back. It seems like Doublelift's going to be back, because at this point, can you really be getting an upgrade? Which means top and support are what's left. And the big juicy rumor for support is we got another Korean support coming back, and we got another protege of Ruler, Life from Gen G. And that's an unexpected one if that does end up happening for me.
Yeah, this one comes a little bit out of left field, but as you said, another one of Ruler's proteges that he's been working alongside, and Doublelift says, hey, playing alongside Core JJ, that was fantastic.
That worked well.
Who do you guys have next for me? What's the next dish that you got for me to sample out?
So Life MVP 2021 spring. Yeah.
I don't think the expectation should exactly be the same on what Core JJ did and how he stepped in immediately. In North America, there'd be a lot of things and that would relate to why he found that immediate success, I think, that those years ago. But when you're talking about Life coming to TSM and what he can bring and what he can offer, and especially what he brings to the North American scene, well, I mean, I don't mean to do any disservice to who he's set support. Life's set support will instantly be the best set support in North America. What he can offer, the champion pool, how he plays, it's an instant and immediate massive upgrade at the support position for TSM, and that's not meant to be disrespectful to Biofrost or anyone else that they could have found. It's just a different tier for them at this point. It would be very exciting to see that paired alongside Doublelift, and that would be one of those ones where, you know what, ourselves included, had questions for Doublelift this off season after his performance at Worlds, or lack thereof, really. Adding a Life alongside you definitely gives you a little boost beside you, but it does, having that type of investment made from TSM at this point, sticking with Doublelift again, it immediately requires you to put up results. You have to be. If you got Life beside you and you're not in the top 3 of the bottom lane duos, that's a disappointment to me, combining Doublelift and Life.
Yeah, and I don't know how good Life's English actually is. We'll see if communication will be an issue within the bot lane or within the team environment, which begs the question for the top side, because it's basically doesn't sound like Broken Blade's going to be back. It's kind of down to Licorice or Impact, and obviously both of those, I mean, they've been the 2 best top laners there with Someday over the last few years in North America. But if you're bringing in Life, does it make more sense to have Impact so that you have 2 Koreans on the roster?
Immediately, if in a separate world, if you're talking just about top laners, I think my preference leans towards Licorice about who you would be adding. But if you're adding Life as your support, well, it instantly, to me, swings over into the favor of Impact, just because of, I think that, yes, there are performance differences and champion pools that you can be looking at with these two, But as far as adding in, if you're adding in life and there is any type of question about a language gap or communication, doing all you can with your roster in game to help that out, I'd be in that favor of adding in Impact as well to the roster.
Yeah, and I think either of them are a solid pick. But yeah, I'd probably lean towards Impact just to have that relationship between top and support. Just to, I mean, Life, it's a huge move. I think we underestimate just packing up and moving to North America with Life. Having someone who we can relate to in Impact would definitely help them out, or help both of them out. And finally, last big rumor, we got Chovy not going to the LPL now, people are saying. He's sticking to the LCK, down to 2 teams, the Afrika Freaks or Hanwha Life. Afrika, you get Keen and Chovy. All of a sudden, you have 2 of the best solo laners in the league combined. Or you go to Hanwha Life and you get 3/5 of Griffin reunited.
There's a lot to take when you're talking about those 2. And it's one of those ones where you're like, man, if only Tarzan wanted to stick around in the LCK.
The full reunion. Oh.
You could have pretty much the big old reunion on with Hanwha Life, but the way we're looking at it right now, you said it with thinking about Keen and Chovy. That's an incredible duo that you can have with the Afrika Freaks. And hey, the Afrika Freaks have had to make a statement saying, look, we're not going to be going and messaging Chovy's mom and grandparents, anything. We're going to be handling this responsibly. That's how this is going. And then, of course, Hanwha Life talking about trying to get an old Griffin reunion.
Hanwha Life speaks a different language.
Yeah, they got that insurance company type of money going around. And hey, if you want to be investing in Chovy, there is going to be a lot of that money that needs to go around from Hanwha Life. But hey, that is one hell of a way to jumpstart your way into competition in the LCK.
I personally want to see a bit of a Griffin reunion, so I'd like to see him on Hanwha Life. But either way, happy to hear that he'll be back in the LCK. By the way, also talking about Life to TSM, it sounds like Kyria is going to be going over to Gen G to play with Ruler. That sounds like a deadly bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the exodus that it seems to be from DRX, those are some pretty highly sought after names, of course, but Kyria, that's the big one for me, because of course Chovy carries a lot of power in the name that we've been talking about for a while, but Kyria's potential, that is the big one right now for a lot of people that they want to be adding.
And unleashing it alongside Ruler, that's probably one way to grow the potential pretty damn well. But yeah, DRX is going to the wayside, that entire roster, it seems like. The LCK rumors only going to get crazier as the week goes on. It's a little behind regular free agency, but a couple of days, everything will be sorted out.
We'll get those rumors out to you guys, no problem.
Yeah, and even the next day or so, LCS and LEC, it just takes the one big drop to happen, Perks or Licorice finding a spot, and then there's going to be answers around the globe from other teams quickly panicking to make their own moves.
Everybody wants to get in on the free agent bonanza, and as you said, big names like Perks, big names like Tarzan, as soon as they get off the board, a lot of teams are going to have you going, oh, well, we need to fill this
Plan
gap.
B.
Exactly, and you got to be quick on that with the money.
Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. It all goes down to tiers very quickly when free agency does fully kick off. That's all the time today, though, for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, as always. Thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you guys and gals on the Flippity Flop.